Butterflies and leaves, what's not to love about a garden necklace? Hello, welcome back. My name's Carol. Today I'm going to be using some beautiful leaf beads and also some glass butterflies to make a garden inspired necklace. So let's get started. I will walk you step by step through the process of making this necklace, but I'll also talk to you about everything you need and leave you links in the description box for all of those supplies. So let's take a look. What I have in front of me here is 4 of these beautiful check glass fire polished beads, and these are called lamp beads. You've seen me use them before and they look like they've got a bead cap on either end. Those ones measure 8mm. Next, I've got my beautiful transparent butterflies. These ones are glass and they measure 10 by 8. Next, I've got some beautiful purple bicones. Now these ones have a gorgeous AB finish. They're only 3mm, so tiny wee beads, and they've just glitter in the light. I absolutely love them. I've also got some 6mm glass faceted round beads in the colour pink. And I've got these gorgeous glass leaf beads. Aren't they beautiful? I love the pastel colour. They're just stunning. Those ones measure 13 by 18. As well as that, I've got some 6mm jump rings. I have got some 4mm jump rings. I also have this amazing toggle clasp, and I thought it went really well with the theme of leaves and butterflies because it's a grape leaf with a bunch of grapes. That's the back of it. As well as that, I'm going to need some 20 gauge wire. You could use 22 gauge wire if you wanted to. As far as tools are concerned, I'm going to be using my 2 pairs of chain nose pliers. I'm going to be using my round nose pliers. I'm also going to be using my flush cutters. And because I'm making lots and lots of loops, I'm going to be using my 2.2mm one-step looper. Let's start by making the leaf components of this necklace. So I'm going to take my 3 leaves and I'm going to make a wire wrapped loop at the top of each one. So firstly, I'm going to take a piece of wire and I'm going to straighten it out a bit first. And then I'm going to thread on my leaf. And I want to leave myself a tail of about maybe 1.5 inches, which is probably about 4 centimeters on one end. And I'm just going to bend that wire up so that it is coming up like that. Now I want to make sure that the long one comes right in. So I'm just going to pinch it, and I can do this with my pliers if I need to, just pushing it into the top of the bead there so that it's pointing straight up like that. Now I'm going to take my pliers and I'm going to wrap this wire around the other one. Now this can be a little bit of a challenge, but worth persevering here. So just going around, I think twice will be plenty. There we go, that's what I have now. And I've got a tail, so I'm going to cut off that tail using the flush side of my cutters. Getting in as close as I possibly can. Remember to hold both ends of your wire so it doesn't fly away. And now I've got a little tail there, so I need to take my pliers and just tuck that tail in. And just feel for it, make sure that it's not sticking out. So there is what I have now. And now I'm going to make a loop, and I'm going to use my one-step looper for this. So I'm going to thread that through the whole of my one-step looper. If you haven't seen a one-step looper before, I've got a whole video on how to use it, how it changed my life. So I will link that one in the description box below and of course up the top here. So I've put the wire in through the one-step loop and I'm going to just make my loop there. Now sometimes with my one-step looper my loops aren't quite closed, so I'm going to just lift it up and tuck it back. And there is my first component, and I need 3 of those, so I'll go ahead and make 3. Okay, so there are my 3 leaves all ready to go. Now I'm just going to put those aside for a minute while I make the next component. So the next one is a super easy one I'm going to make with my one-step looper. So I'm going to take some wire and just chop a piece off. And I'm going to use my one-step looper to make some loops. So this is where the one-step looper comes in really handy. So I'm just putting on one of my 6mm faceted round beads here. There we go. And I'm going to put a loop in the other end. Now I've got quite a long piece of wire here because I'm going to make a few. I'm not going to worry about them being closed at the moment because I am going to come in and open them again. But what I am going to do is take my pliers and make sure that the loops are facing in opposite directions. So you want one up and one across. So you do that by holding them both in your pliers and twisting one hand down. So you will see there that my loops are now going in opposite directions. Now I need to make 12 of those, so I'll go ahead and do that. I've made my 12. Now I'm going through and checking that the loops are all facing the right way. Now you might be wondering why I want the loops to be facing in opposite directions. And the reason for that is simply because the necklace will sit better. If your necklace isn't sitting right, the best thing to do is go and check the loop direction, because chances are that they will be actually sitting facing the wrong way, and therefore they won't be sitting nicely. And I always do this with a necklace. I always go through as I make the components and double check that I have put them all facing the right way, because sometimes when you're busy you forget. What we're going to do now is join them together. So I'm going to join them in groups of 3. So I'm just taking my pliers and I'm finding the side of the loop that opens, and now I'm going to hold that loop on the side and I'm going to support the rest of the component between my forefinger and my thumb, and I'm going to twist my hand down to open the loop. There we go. Now I'm going to pop on another component and I'm going to reverse that just to close it up. So holding it on the side and twisting my hand down. So there's my 2 together, and now I need to add another one. So doing the same thing, opening up my loop, popping on my component and closing my loop. And now is the time you want to make sure that your loops are well closed. So there's my string of 3, and I need 4 of those, so I'll go ahead and make them. And I just wanted to show you how nicely that is sitting, because all of the loops are going in the opposite directions, or the correct way. Okay, so now I have my strand of 3. The next component I'm going to make is going to be using some more wire and making some more loops. Making a loop on the end of this piece of wire. And this one-step looper makes it so easy. And what I'm going to do is put on one of my little bicones, which are so gorgeous. One of my 6mm faceted round pink beads. I'm going to use a lamp bead this time. And another of my 6mm and another bicone. Now you'll notice that when I make a component, I often repeat the pattern. So I use one focal bead in the middle, like I have here, and I've got the same beads on either side, and that is a really tried and true way to make a necklace component. It just balances everything out, so that's worth knowing. All right, now I'm going to take my one-step looper and I'm going to make a loop in this end. Now if you are going to make this necklace, be very careful of these little bicones, because you don't want to get too close with the jaws of this one-step loop, because it can kind of shave just a little bit of the glass off. So just leaving a little millimetre gap is what you want to do, because when the jaws come round like that, sometimes they just shave off that little bit of glass, and you don't want that. So there's my component, and I will need 4 of those, so I'm going to go ahead and make them. All right, now I've got my 4 components, and I bet you're wondering how all this is going to go together, but I'm not going to show you just yet, so I'll pop those ones aside. Next, I'm going to be making some butterfly components. So once again, I'm taking some wire and I'm going to make a loop with my one-step looper. Just closing that loop up. And I am going to put on a butterfly. These butterfly beads, the hole goes up through the center. So there it is, and now I'm going to make a loop in the other end. And closing it up. And once again, you want to make sure that your loops are going in opposite directions here. It will sit much nicer. So there's my little butterfly, and I need 3 of those, so I'll go ahead and make them. So there's my 3 little butterflies. The next component I'm going to make also has a butterfly, so I'm going to take some more wire and my 1-step looper, and I'm going to make a loop, and this time we're going a little bicone. So I'm going with one of those and one of my 6mm, then I'm going to put on a butterfly. I'm going to reverse that, so another 6mm and another bicone. So there we go, and I'm going to make a loop in the end. And you know what I'm going to say, make sure your loops are going in opposite directions. So I need 2 of those. So there's my 2 components, and we have one more lot of components to make. So taking some more wire and my 1-step looper, making my loop, and this time we're going with a little bicone. These are so tiny I find it hard to find the holes, and a 6mm faceted round, and we're going to repeat that 2 more times. So we need 4 of those. So now we have all these components, and you're wondering how they go together, and to be honest, so am I. So let's have a look. We're going to start off at the bottom here with our 4 components of 3 of the 6mm. Now these are going to be joined by a butterfly. Okay, they're also going to have a leaf on them. Starting to make sense? As well as that, they're going to have this component along the top. Okay, that's a good start. All right, we're going to join them together with some jump rings. There's a lot going into these jump rings. So the first one, this one's already open, but if you haven't used jump rings before, I'll leave you a link in the description box for a video all about how to use them. So what we're going to do is we're going to feed on first this component. Then we're going to feed on our butterfly. And then we're going to feed on this component. And then we're going to take our pliers and we're going to close that loop up. I can't get a hold on them because the butterfly is getting in the way. There we go. Closing up that jump ring, making sure it's nicely closed. So that is what I have now. Now we're going to do the next one. So we're going to take a jump ring and we're going to feed on this one and the butterfly. Actually, I'm going to put the butterfly on the other side. So I'm going to hold it in this hand just so that I know it's in the right place. And then this one. And then I'm going to close up that jump ring. So this is what I have now. And I'm going to repeat that one more time. Now I do find it's easier when you do this to do it in order and lay it down each time so that you know you're getting it in the right order and that things are laying right and sitting right. So popping that one on, a butterfly and my other component. And closing up my jump ring. Okay, so that's what we have now. Now we're going to join these ones and this one together. Just a little hint, if you're doing a complex project like this where you need lots of hands, it's really, really easy to open all your jump rings first, and that way you don't have to put your tools down or put the piece down and open your jump rings. It just makes life easier. So I'm going to take this component here and I'm going to put my butterfly on. Then I'm going to hold it in this hand and I'm going to put my leaf on and my next component. So I've got 4 components going into that one jump ring. Whoops. And you don't want to drop it. And doing up that jump ring. So that's what I have now. And the things to look for is to make sure that everything is lying flat. So you don't want your jump ring to be twisted or anything like that. And with us making sure that our components, the loops were going in opposite directions, that should make it work. But I have noticed maybe I need to change my loop around on my leaf. So maybe I need to make it go that way a little bit. You can come in afterwards and fix that. So I'm going to repeat that a couple more times. One thing to think about when you are putting these components on, especially with the leaf, make sure that the opening for your leaf is actually facing the back rather than the front. So that's what I have now. All right, what happens next? So what we're going to do next is we're going to make sure, firstly, that our butterflies are facing the right way, and we're going to attach them here. And we're going to attach these ones up here as well. So another jump ring, and I've got my jump ring open, so I'm going to attach the bottom one, the top one, don't have to be quite so careful this time, and the bottom loop of this one, and close that up. So now everything is all coming in to that point there. Don't you just love these colours? They're stunning, aren't they? Beautiful together. And I'm going to repeat that for the other side. You just want to make sure when you put these components on that you don't get them twisted, so you still need them to be put on in the right order. Otherwise it won't sit quite right. Now what I love about this necklace is it's actually not very hard to make, but it looks amazing, and your friends will go, wow, you made that? And that is what we want, right? So we're looking good. How do you like it so far? Okay, now we're going to add these components here. We're going to join 2 together. So taking another jump ring. I love it that these jump rings all happen to be open. I did not open them, they just all happen to be. And feeding on my 2 components. Closing that up. So that's what I'm looking for, and I'm going to repeat that. Now, if you're interested in making the jewellery that I'm wearing today, remember I will leave you links in the description box below to the necklace. This is a boho necklace that I made, and I've got on, hang on a minute, I'll show you my bracelet. Just a second, I just have to finish closing my jump ring. Too much talking, not enough doing. It's not closing this one, so if you have trouble closing your jump ring, what you do is you hold it on either side and you wiggle up and down, pushing towards the other plier, and that will close it. So my bracelet, here it is, and this was the orange and red clashing bracelet that I made, and it has some little dangles. It's got lots of wire wrapping, so it was a good project to learn how to wire wrap. So I'll leave you a link for that one as well. Now the earrings, I don't have a full tutorial, but I do have a short for these, so I will leave you that one as well. And yeah, you can make them to your heart's content. Also, if you want to see more of my tutorials, it would be really great if you subscribe, you know, hit that notification bell, and if you're enjoying this one, give me that thumbs up, and even better, leave me a comment. I love to read the comments. So next we're going to join this one to this one. So just this jump ring does need to be opened, so I'm going to open it and I'm going to feed those 2 on and close it. That's that one, and repeat for the other side. Isn't it pretty? So it's almost done. Apart from making all the components, it was actually quite quick to put together. So now I need to put my clasp on, and I'm going to start off by putting my jump ring on. Now this one probably doesn't have a front and back, but I feel like this is the front because I've made sure that the wire wrapped loops are facing this way, because I don't want to see that little end at the back. So I'm right-handed, so I want to make sure that my clasp is on my right hand, or the clasp that I do up into. Probably not as important with this clasp. I'm just thinking how how will I do that up? So I probably don't need to worry too much. So I'm going to take my little 4mm jump ring. Now I have never attached this clasp before, so it may need a 6, we'll just see. And I'm going to open my 4mm jump ring. Normally I would attach a clasp with a 4, but we'll see today. I'm actually thinking if I put the 4 on there and put this one on there, oh yeah, that looks like it's going to work. Is it too tight? Let's see. We'll close it up and we'll see. Quite hard to close actually, because it's quite bulky. There we go, it worked. There's my 4mm jump ring in there. And now I want to repeat on the other side. Now if you found this too tricky or too intricate, you could absolutely do it with a 6mm. So there's that end of the clasp with its 4mm jump ring. And I do like the 4mm, I think it works really well. It was worth the effort to put it on. So to do up this necklace, this is how the clasp works. It has a little hook on this side and it does up into that little hook, and into that little loop there. So there we go. So there's my necklace. Isn't it gorgeous with its beautiful leaves and its little clasp there? And I love this necklace. It's so soft looking and pretty, but it's also got that contrast. Now, if you've been watching the series of interviews with Imogen, you will know why contrast is so important, especially for me, because I'm pastel, I like those pastels and I wear pastels all the time, but I need that pop of colour because of my eyes. Now remember, I'll leave you a link in the description box below to a blog post which contains all of the links for everything I used today. Also check that out, and also check us out on Facebook and Instagram. Give me the thumbs up if you liked this video. Thank you so much for watching today. Have a wonderful day and I will see you again soon.